and I think this is what makes the Soviet case in some ways special, is that unlike, say, in the US, when a Black domestic worker doesn't have any other options, right? You can move to a different family maybe, which of course is also problematic if you don't get a good letter of recommendation, but there is no job in a factory waiting for you. In the Soviet Union, the domestic workers knew about those other opportunities, and their employers knew as well. There was always a shortage of domestic workers, and that gave domestic workers leverage. But what also gave domestic workers leverage is that there's legislation that protects their rights. They can try to mobilize. There is a union that they can try to appeal, or courts. And also there is a culture that constantly celebrates kind of the equal treatment of domestic workers. And it's frowned upon in the society to have your domestic worker not eat at the table with you. Now, of course, I'm not saying that that never happened, but there is an expectation in the society that your nanny eats with you the same food at the same table. So and finally, I think this constant opportunities for social mobility that existed in the Soviet Union and the opportunities for downfalls that existed are quite unique. So a domestic worker, a girl from a village comes into a household, becomes a domestic worker, then becomes a worker in a factory herself, and then hires someone else to be her domestic worker. Those are not unusual cases. But also an employer who was, a privileged party official suddenly is arrested and loses everything. And the only person who is left outside to take care of the children is the nanny. So I think they're more complex dynamic that creates more opportunities for domestic workers negotiate their positions. And finally, I think there's also the state. And oftentimes the nanny and the family find themselves together against the state, whether it's in the situation when there's an arrest or it's in the situation when they want to get an extra room, which is great for a nanny as she can have her own room, but also, good for the family. And they work together.